So are you one of those golfers who gets the tee shots away, they've got the perfect lie in the middle of the fairway, and you feel standing over the golf ball like you're going to hit a good iron shot, but all too often we top it, fat it, or just catch it a little bit thin. So you kind of feel that you hit all the shots apart from that one that's really out the middle of the club face where you can press the ball and get some nice distance. Now, huge thing for me with golfers, the first bit of advice they get told is that they need to hit down on the golf ball more. And already, quickly into the video, comment below if you've been told that. Well, what I'm going to show you today is you don't need to hit down on it, but you do need to control two things in your swing if you're going to be able to stand up there, put a good swing on it, and hit ball and then ground every time to hit that perfect golf shot. So I know what you're thinking, that last shot is the one that you want every single time. Welcome to the club, so do I. But I want you to understand the golf swing can be a very, very simple movement, and as long as we control the delivery of the golf club correctly, with every club on the floor, you're going to get the ball hitting down without trying to hit down. And then if you wanted with driver, you'd have the club traveling up, hitting up to maximize distance. So if you look at the golf swing face on, the simplest form is that club moving in a circular motion around the body. And then because you stand to the side of the golf ball, that circle is on an angle. So the key thing, if you want that club moving down through impact to get ball and then ground, the first thing you need to be able to do is get the low point of the golf swing ahead of the golf ball. Let me show you what I mean. So the club will move up on the way back, then it will travel down, would find its lowest point and then travel back up. So as long as that low point is ahead of the golf ball, we would collect ball and then ground. So I've got 6-iron in my hand. Ball would be just very slightly forward of centre, but I need to make sure I touch the ground this side of the golf ball. And a really easy way of doing it, particularly if you're on the driving range, but you can do this on turf as well, is set up with the club kind of level with where the ball would be, and I want you to feel like you're going to hit the ground this side of the golf ball. So controlling the low point is the key first aspect. Now, for a lot of golfers, just simply focusing this side of the golf ball rather than at the ball, straight away will make them make that contact. And it's about making sure the golf ball is not the lowest point of the swing. The lowest point of the swing is, and the ball gets collected in the right place. So, for a lot of golfers then, they have 2 or 3 swings, feeling like the focus ahead. And straight away I can see I'm touching the ground maybe 3.5 inches ahead of the golf ball. Now, it's very difficult as a coach to tell you exactly what you should feel to do this. So a lot of golfers might feel that they need to move their weight earlier. They might feel that they want to get their upper body a little bit more kind of over the golf ball, but just simply try focusing ahead in the practice swing and see if you can touch the ground in the right place. So for most golfers, they can set up, take the focus off the golf ball, focus ahead and put that swing on it. And straight away they'll feel a different contact. We can see there my low point 3.7 inches ahead, which means the club's travelled down 4 degrees and the carry at 183 with nice accuracy. So straight away, and I do that drill with nearly every golfer that struggles with ball striking with me, and instantly that changes the way they strike the golf ball. Now, you might practice that, flush it, and feel I don't need to watch the rest of the video. If so, comment below and let me know, are you leaving me now? But if you've stayed with me, there might be another bit that you need to get correct in order to get that good shot. So for a lot of golfers, they'll actually feel like when they're swinging that they make a decent swing, but they can almost miss the golf ball. Now that then becomes a little bit irrelevant of where my lowest point is, I mean, my low point there would have maybe just been on top of the golf ball, but it's actually how low the lowest point gets. And this is where the hitting down thing, I think, becomes the issue. So if I said, we want the lowest point of the golf swing to be ahead of the golf ball, but we also want it to be slightly down into the ground. So if you were on turf, the deepest part, the divot, would be the low point. So we can't have the lowest point of the golf swing above the ground. Otherwise, as the club tracks back to the golf ball, we're going to top it. Now, the problem for a lot of golfers is when they're not getting any contact with the ground, when they try and hit down, they just move the whole arc down. And even if in theory the low point was ahead of the golf ball, if the ground just gets in the way 6-7 inches behind, you're never going to hit a great shot. So again, I think it's one of those where you go back to that feeling like you're ahead. And if you're one of those golfers who feels that when you swing, you don't touch the ground, you need to consciously feel like the bottom of the arc's a little bit lower. That felt good. But you might be one of those golfers who, when you do that drill, feels that there's a really heavy contact with the ground. And if you're on turf, the divot might be very long and really, really deep. If that's the case, you actually need to feel almost like the club's just going to brush the grass. So it's about controlling the height of the swing as well as the low point. So once you have a few practice swings, and on a mat, it's just feeling like the contact's not like you're hardly touching the ground, and equally not like you're hammering the ground. I mean, there's a little bit of give under my mat, but you can certainly hear the noise. If that's too deep, it's really loud, and I can consciously tell that. That one there would almost feel that I would touch the mat, but because I'd only just touched the mat ahead, the club would have come back a little bit too high, and that would have been a thin. So it'd have been a good shot, but not the best possible shot. So once you make a few swings, and you feel that you're touching the mat or the ground ahead of the golf ball and getting the height of the swing correct, then you can step up, obviously with 6-iron for me, put a great swing on it. I've controlled the delivery of the club really well there. 3.1 inches ahead, slightly into the ground, good control with everything else, and 164 carry. Now, as you change golf clubs, you're only looking to make a very similar movement with everything. So what we'd see is the shorter irons, the ball would be directly in the middle. So if I make the same swing, the low point just becomes slightly further ahead because we've moved the ball back. That's making the club travel down more. As the clubs get a little bit longer, you're going to move slightly forward. The low point's still going to be ahead and in the ground, but not as much, so the club would travel more shallow. Driver's a different beast. You would get the ball kind of more opposite that front foot. Now the low point's going to be behind, and you want the low point to be above the ground, so that'll get the club travelling up. But as an added little bonus, let's say you are a golfer who hits the ball phenomenally low. What you'll tend to find with those golfers is they're golfers who naturally get that low point a long way ahead, so the club's travelling down and de-lofted. So if you're somebody who hits the ball low, don't worry about textbook ball position. For you, move that ball a little forward and still think about ahead and touching the ground. Instantly, the club will come in a little shallower, present more loft, and hit the ball much, much higher. Conversely to that, if you're somebody who hits the ball super high, chances are you just don't control your low point. So actually working on the start of the video will be better. But if that was the case, you might just move the ball a little bit further back than normal, make that swing and try and get that low point well ahead. And then you can see that one's going to come out much, much lower. Low point way ahead. Actually a little thin because of that for me. But you can start controlling strike, trajectory, and distance. All because you're not trying to hit down, you're not trying to hit up. You're trying to control the lowest part of your swing, but also how deep the lowest point is into the ground. And if you can do that, you've set your ball position, you've taken dead aim, and off you go. You can just hit great shots with every club in the bag.